They say that long, long ago, in a peaceful village nestled among green meadows and blooming flowers, life was simple and beautiful. A clear river flowed through the heart of the village, and its people lived in harmony, farming, trading, and helping one another. On one side of the river lived the wealthier families, merchants, bakers, and skilled craftsmen. Among them was a famous goldsmith who owned a grand jewelry shop. He lived with his only daughter Husna, a young woman of breathtaking beauty, but whose heart was filled with arrogance. In that same village lived a young man named Ahmed. He was 25, hard-working and kind-hearted. He lived with his elderly mother, a widow whom he cherished and cared for with all his being. Ahmed worked at the goldsmith's shop, diligently learning the craft day by day. His master, the goldsmith, treated him like the son he never had, for he only had Husna, whose beauty captivated every man in the village. Ahmed loved her silently, admiring her from a distance. But he always told himself that a poor worker like him could never hope to win the heart of a rich man's daughter. Still, her face was etched in his mind, and her name echoed in his heart. One evening, Ahmed finally gathered all his courage and spoke to his mother. "Mother," he said softly, "I love Husna, the goldsmith's daughter." His mother looked at him, her eyes filled with concern. "My son, she is rich and proud. Do you truly believe her father would accept you?" Ahmed replied with a calm resolve. "I don't know, but I have to try. Our destiny is in God's hands." A few days later, Ahmed and his mother made their way to the goldsmith's house to ask for Husna as hand in marriage. The goldsmith welcomed them kindly, but when Ahmed spoke of his intentions, the man simply smiled and said, "Let me ask my daughter first." That night, sleep was a stranger to Ahmed. He tossed and turned, anxiously waiting for the sunrise, hoping for good news. The next morning, when he arrived at the workshop, his master said nothing about the proposal. Ahmed remained silent as well, not daring to bring it up. Days crawled by, stretching his patience to its limit, until finally the goldsmith approached him. Husna, he said, had agreed. What Ahmed didn't know was the reason behind her acceptance. It wasn't love that moved her, but pride. She wanted to prove to herself and to everyone that she could stoop to marry a poor man, that she could endure a simple life. It was a challenge to her own vanity. Ahmed, however, was overcome with joy. He ran home to share the news with his mother, and they celebrated with tears of happiness. Soon, the wedding took place. It was a simple affair, but filled with boundless love from Ahmed's side. When Husna moved into Ahmed's small, humble home, she initially pretended to be content. But as the days turned into weeks, her true nature began to surface. She started complaining about everything: the small house, the plain food, the relentless poverty. "I can't live like this," she would say, her voice sharp with disdain. Ahmed tried everything to please her. He brought her flowers, patched the walls, and worked longer, harder hours, but nothing could fill the void in her heart. Then she started to quarrel with his mother. The old woman tried her best to be patient, but one day Husna's anger erupted. "I'm tired of this miserable life," she screamed. "I don't want to live with you anymore." Heartbroken, Ahmed's mother left the house with tears streaming down her face and went to sit by the river. Ahmed ran after her, pleading with her to return, but she shook her head sadly. "Go to your wife, my son," she said. "Her heart has no room for anyone else." From that day on, a cold silence fell over their home. Not long after, Ahmed began to notice a change in Husna's behavior. She would often leave the house dressed in her finest clothes and return late at night, offering no explanation. One evening, the devastating truth hit him like a dagger to the heart. Husna was seeing another manor wealthy trader from the village. The betrayal shattered him, but he didn't fight or shout. Instead, he quietly packed his few belongings, left the house he had once filled with so much hope, and moved to the edge of the village to start over. There, he poured all his pain and energy into his work. He practiced the art of goldsmithing day and night until he had completely mastered it. He opened his own small workshop, and over the years his reputation grew. His creations were so exquisite that people traveled from distant villages just to buy them. Ahmed became rich, respected, and strong. The pain in his heart had forged him into a new man. As for Husna, her world came crashing down. The wealthy trader who had promised her a life of luxury lost his fortune and abandoned her. She found herself utterly alone, poor, and consumed by regret. One day, having heard of Ahmed's incredible success, she journeyed to the city to find him. She walked into his magnificent jewelry shop, the largest in the city, wearing worn-out clothes, her face stained with tears. She stood before him and whispered, "Ahmed, I was so foolish. Please, forgive me." Ahmed looked at her, his gaze steady and cold. He was silent for a long moment before he spoke. "You were my first lesson, Husna. You taught me that pride destroys love and that money can never buy peace. I forgive you, but you no longer have a place in my life." She broke down, sobbing, then turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowded city streets, lost and forgotten. Ahmed watched her go, then turned back to his work. His revenge wasn't found in anger or bitterness, but in his success, in becoming everything she once believed he could never be. And so ends the story of a man who loved truly, was betrayed deeply, and rose from the ashes stronger than ever. Because sometimes the end of love isn't an end at all, but a rebirth. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more tales that touch the heart. We'll see you next time.